Hello.
Hello.
Hello,
Sup?
hello. Can you hear us? Check, check. How do I know if this is working?
It's working.
How do you know?
Because we can hear ourselves. It's live.
Yeah, but it's live, but how do we know if people can hear us?
Because
I can hear.
how?
Let's, okay.
Ooh.
Hey, hi Martha, hi
Martha.
Sherry and Cassie and Diana Lane. Hey, can you guys hear us okay? Hi Kay Martinez. Yep, awesome. Hey, so hi Crystal, hi CJ. So I think what we're going to try to do is try to go this at 6 o'clock every evening. I know there's been a lot of question of what time we're going to do this. So we're going to try to do it at 6 o'clock every night during the quarantine. So there's just something fun to look forward to if we think it's fun. So I've been thinking a lot about the quarantine. We're now at, I think we're
Day 8.
day 8 of the quarantine. So I think it was last Monday it started, and so now we're here. We didn't do Saturday or Sunday because we had our services that was online. You can go back and check it. Uh, so tonight, what I want to talk about is if you like us, one of the things that we normally would do during just a normal work week is probably eat out at least once, if not twice, a week. Different places like
Parties.
Hardee's because it tastes better. We usually go there, or Noah would like to go to.
The Mexican.
Yeah, we like the Mexican or Chinese, but usually once to twice a week we'd go out. So we've been at home and we've been eating a lot more frequently here. So I started to think that what was life like? Well, Forrest Gump says,
Like a box of chocolates.
yeah, life is like a box of chocolates. But I started to wonder, like, with just different things around the house, different things that we've started to eat, what does it look like? And I realize when pressure comes, when the uncertainty of life happens and the chemicals in our brain start to do what the chemicals in our brain does, what starts to happen is we have either a fight mentality, flight mentality. So either one or the other. So there's a couple foods that I started to think what happens that will represent this. So the first thing that I thought of, Noah, you want to hold that up? Can anybody tell what that is? Hey, we had a bunch of people jump on at the same time, so just want to say hello to everybody. Does anybody know what this is? So if you can't tell, it is a lasagna noodle. Anybody like lasagna? It's one of my foods I really enjoy is lasagna. This guy really likes pasta, so I didn't hold up the pasta. And I started to think that life, at times when the pressure comes, is a lot like a spaghetti noodle or a lot like a pasta noodle. Why? See what happens when the pressure comes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right. It's brittle. Sometimes it leaves us feeling shattered, and the pressure comes, so we're not just brittle. We're not just worried about life, not just shattered. But when the pressure comes and you put that spaghetti noodle or lasagna noodle in water, you know what it comes into? It's limp, right? It's, woe is me. Life is no good. Nothing's ever going to happen. Nothing's going to turn out right. We get hopeless or we get hope lost because we get limp, because we're brittle. What starts to happen is we hoard and we hold on to, we build bunkers, we want to get away from everyone, we worry that everyone's going to die. We have this flight, right? This fleeing mentality. And the reason is, first and foremost, when it's flight, is how do I protect me? Or how do I protect myself from everything else? It's this fear really of death, or this fear of dying. And there's a biblical person or a biblical perspective that I started to think of, and it's the Apostle Peter. So if you remember, Peter's in the upper room, And he's there with Jesus. He's there with his best friends. And Jesus says, one of you are going to betray me. One of you are going to deny me. And Peter's like, not I, Lord. Even if everybody else falls away on the count of you, not me. And he looks at him and says, you're right. You're not just going to deny me one time. You're going to deny me 3 times. And so Peter goes into this flight mentality. The pressure comes. He's feeling a little fragile. He's feeling a little brittle. He's starting to feel a little limp, and he flees. And in the process of fleeing, because of his fear of death, his fear of dying, he looks and wonders, what happens if they do to him like they're doing to Jesus? And he denies him not once, not twice,
but 3 times.
But a 3rd time. And on the 3rd time,
the rooster crowed.
I'm not sure what animal you were. That sounded more like a crow. Then a crow will fly over. A rooster will crow. But what happened with Peter is because he lost his perspective of what he was really called to do. So then the second thing that I started to think of is one of my favorite breakfast foods. What is it? Egg. It has a thin shell, right? One of my very favorite breakfast foods. Now show them what happens if the pressure comes and you kind of bang that a little bit on the side. Yep. Show it to him. Show it to him. No, I mean like what happens?
Come on. Let's go.
Oh, we gotta see. Open it. Come on. Oh, do you see what that happens? Do you see what it is? The pressure came. Right? So he's peeling it. You see what it is? Oh, so you thought it was going to be runny, didn't you? Gotcha. It's a hard-boiled egg. That sometimes when we have this fight mentality, so not just flying away, we have this fight mentality. That what happens is in our hearts we become hard and we become callous, and our chin kind of juts out, and our fingers, right, become fist, and our eyebrows. So you want to come at me? I'm going to come at you. My feelings get hurt, and I want to hurt people. Remember that. If you want to write something down, something to learn from tonight, is that hurt people hurt people. And really, I wonder, like, what are we afraid of? What are we afraid of? And it isn't the fear of death. Really, to me, what we're afraid of is the fear of the loss of control. Right now, we have this fear of loss of control, and I'm just really frustrated. I just want to go out and I want to live my life like normal. It's this fear of my loss of power. And I have a biblical example. I think of Pharaoh. So in the book of Exodus, the Israelites are being led by Pharaoh. They're in captivity. They're in slavery. And what happens is God allows, wait for it, a deadly pestilence, a plague to come across them. And in the process of this pestilence, in the process of this plague, Pharaoh's heart becomes hard, right? Becomes hard, becomes calloused. What is he afraid of more than anything? A loss of control, a loss of power. And so as opposed to trusting in something bigger than him, his heart becomes hard. So we have the flight. We have the fight. Now here's our third one. Not just an egg, not just a spaghetti, but what I wonder is, what if it was more like, you guys see what this is? See what that is? It's Kool-Aid. What if we were called to be more like Kool-Aid, and you're going, okay, Pastor Ben, it's not really a good thing when pastors ask you to drink the Kool-Aid, right? That's usually not a good thing. But the reason why I wanted to do Kool-Aid is, now look at this. Can you see what I have here? It's just a gallon of water. And I'm going to take this Kool-Aid, right? And I want you to help me.
Oh, yeah.
You see what happens? So I'm going to dump this Kool-Aid in here. Nope. I have everything that I need right here. Do you see what happens? Do you see what's happening to it? Right there. See what happened?
Mm-hmm.
It isn't just water anymore. It's Kool-Aid. What happened if we wouldn't be just like spaghetti, if we wouldn't be hard-hearted, but what would happen is, what happens if we changed our environment? What if we were called to be world changers, to say, in the midst of the craziness and in the midst of the chaos, I'm not going to allow things to happen to me. I'm not going to be reactive. I'm going to be proactive. I think of the Apostle Paul in Acts chapter 16. He's arrested really for a heinous crime, preaching and teaching about Jesus. And he's put in jail, and he doesn't get frustrated. He doesn't become limp and brittle. He doesn't become hard-hearted. Instead, he says, how do I change my environment? And he starts to worship. And in the process of worship, right, the earth starts to shake. And the prison walls start to come down. Their chains fall off. And the jailer runs out in the middle of the night, and he's going, oh no, what am I supposed to do? And he says, don't be afraid. Why? Because we're all still here. And that night, the jailer, the people who were in jail, and the jailer's entire family come to have a relationship with Jesus Christ. Why? Because he wanted to change his environment. So, 2 verses of scripture I want to leave with you before we end our time together. Joshua, a young leader, is getting ready to take over for Moses. And it says in Deuteronomy 31:6, God says to Joshua, be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified because of them. For the Lord your God is with you. He will never leave you and he will never forsake you. God hasn't left you. If you're feeling fragile, you're feeling hard-hearted, maybe today what we need to do is start asking God, how do we change our environment? What are those new areas that we get to go after? What are the new areas in life, new ministries, new things that we've been waiting to do? David, who's on the run from Saul, says, whoever dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of him. I will say of the Lord, he is my refuge and my strength. He's my God whom I trust. Surely I will save you from the fowler's snare and the deadly pestilence. This is from Psalm 91. He will cover you with his feathers, and under his wings you will find refuge. His faithfulness will be your shield and your guard. You will not feel the terror of the night, the arrow that flies by day, nor the pestilence that stalks the darkness. So 2 questions that I want to leave with you. Number 1, I want to know, how can you start changing your environment? I know for us, one of the things that we've started to do is this, a daily devotion. We've taken time to pray. We'd love to hear your prayer requests, so how we can pray for you, how we can serve you during this time. But the second thing that I want you to write down are things how you can respond. So not just your prayer request. What are the verses that you're clinging to? What are the verses that you're reading and claiming over your life? Because God hasn't left you, that he is still with you. His rod and his staff, they protect you. Know that the name of the Lord is a strong, righteous tower. You can run into it and be safe. Father God, that is my prayer tonight, that you can do these things that we've asked. We love you so much. It's in your wonderful name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
So you thought it was my Bible lesson for the night. Sorry. You actually caught me having dinner.
Bye. Bye.